All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Walks on Wall Street. It is November 5th, 2022. It is going to be an extremely busy week next week, my God, between major corporate earnings and none other than the midterm elections, which is going to happen on Tuesday, which will be November 8th, which should definitely move the markets nonetheless. But tonight is our Saturday stream. We do not have a specific topic for tonight, but I did want to let everybody know of a special announcement. So I will be, on Monday, I will be attending a conversation with Ken Griffin, which is the CEO and founder of Citadel Securities, between Ken Griffin and Mayor Francis Suarez, obviously the mayor of Miami, and that will be hosted by the Economic Club of Miami. I will be in attendance. I will be covering the event, so there may or may not be a live stream on Monday, but I will be doing a complete recap of what was talked about during that chat. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. We're seeing tons of investment from Citadel Securities, Ken Griffin, into the Miami area, and I think it's going to be really cool to attend that topic of conversation. So without further ado, let us continue on with the live stream tonight. We are in the Brickell City Center. So a little bit of a different view here. This is the WeWork building here at Brickell City Center. And we're gonna be walking to Brickell Key, and I will say hello to everybody in 1 minute. Just gotta get my backpack ready and we will be good to go. All right, let's see who we have in the chat. Hey, I see Lila is here. Good to see you. NMB 045. Jonathan Richards, good to see you, my friend. Trust you're well. I'll give you guys a quick tour of the kitchen we have here. I see Two Wheel Pines. Good to see you. Buy the book. Diamond Dave says, great Miami night, Tom. Just walking around myself. Home now watching you. Very nice. You know, I think it's going to be a shorter than normal stream. Maybe about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Now, if you notice, if you see all the way in the distance, these are the SLS Lux Towers. So pretty interesting view we have here from the Brickell City Center. And you know what's crazy? I just saw this. I guess if you refer somebody to an office space, you can get up to $3,000. So if anybody's looking for an office space here, definitely let me know. Definitely let us know. All right, let's see if we go out. Moment. Alejandro says, do you work on Saturdays? Very rarely. Mostly I just sort of take it easy and relax on Saturdays. All right, so this is the WeWork office. So I believe the 8th floor is the main office where you check in, but I think it's also on the 9th and 10th floors too of the WeWork. The LT Prod is here. What's up, my friend? Hey, Action Kid. What's up, man? Good to see you. We're in your favorite place, the Brickell City Center. And you know what's weird? There's usually not a lot of people. Well, there's usually a lot of people, but not as many as there are tonight. So the cool thing about Brickell City Center is you can access the KPMG building and the WeWork all in one. Now, I was telling everybody when I just started the live stream, we will probably not be streaming on Monday. I am going to attend a pretty interesting event. It is called A Conversation Between Citadel Securities founder Ken Griffin and the mayor of Miami, Florida, Francis Suarez. So I will be in attendance at that event in downtown Miami. I will be covering it though on the Behind the Street newsletter, and then on Tuesday, we'll be talking about some of the topics that were discussed at that event. And I think it's gonna be pretty important for me to attend that because, as you all know, Ken Griffin started the major quantitative hedge fund, Citadel Securities, in his dorm room at Harvard University, grew into a massive multi-billion-dollar business on Wall Street, based out of Chicago, Illinois. But they did announce this year that they will be moving operations down here to Miami, Florida. So there's going to be a ton of investment into the city, and it's going to be interesting to get a front row seat and listen to Ken Griffin himself speak about Miami, Florida. Alejandro is here. Good to see you, man. Welcome. Michael says Fed Chair Powell is a dangerous man. Yeah, I mean, it seems that way, right? It seems that way. Last week, we got another 75 basis point rate hike yet again. That Fed funds rate is probably going to be 5%, maybe 5.25 by spring of next year. Going to put some continuous pressure on the financial markets. But the good news is, as we sort of look at the northbound side of the Brickell City Center, this building all the way in the distance is the Panorama building, and it's actually all lit up in red, white, and blue for the midterms. But here's something interesting in relation to the market. Now, if you noticed last week, yes, we got the rate hikes. Yes, there was a ton of economic news coming out, such as the Institute for Supply Management, PMIs that continued to decelerate yet again. But did you notice in a lot of the mega cap tech stocks like Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, they finally started to roll over here and crack, as I like to say. And usually the generals are the last to get shot. That is an old expression on Wall Street. And it seems as if the generals are getting shot here. You see Apple declining. You see Google, I think, is down about 40% now. And that usually signals sort of your last capitulation event. Now, I'm not saying the market can't go lower. I think it will. But, you know, history states that nearly 100% of the time after midterm elections, 12 months after midterms, the market is usually higher. So I think it's just something we need to be taking into consideration. Beautiful view over downtown Brickell and Mary Brickell Village tonight. Hey, Julia M is here. Good to see you, Julia. I see my friend Paul Greenwell. What's up, Paul? Always good to see you. Hopefully you're having a good weekend. Google says a beautiful night. Hey, everybody. Yeah, it was awesome weather. I actually spent the majority of my day in North Beach, which is 72nd Street. Really, really nice. It's not that much of a touristy area. That's kind of why I like it. I see Juan Carlos. Good to see you, Juan. Always a pleasure to have you here. U-Haul says, did you buy a Powerball ticket? I did not. But supposedly what? The Powerball is up to, what, over $1 billion? I never really play lottery, honestly. I never play lottery. Alejandro, good to see you, man. This is very alive. What a cool night. Yeah, I mean, usually Saturdays and Sundays, the Brickell City Center, Mary Brickell Village is usually quite packed. I will say we do have some sort of event or a concert is going on at the FTX Arena, which is downtown Miami. And every single time there's a concert or, you know, any sort of main event, it takes over an hour just to get out of downtown Miami. So just be cognizant of that if you're going to a Miami Heat game or something like that. If you leave right when the game is getting out, Good luck getting home. Jonathan Jackson is here, says hello from Texas. Good to see you, Jonathan. So here in Miami, this is our Christmas tree. It's a bunch of bourbon barrels here. Jacob O'Brien says, Tom, how would your investing strategy change if I hit it big on the lotto? Dude, honestly, I think I would take probably exactly half of the winnings, or I would say the earnings, and just index the entire thing. And so I would never have to worry about it. And then the other half, I would just try to start a massive hedge fund. And even if I blew up, who cares? I still have, you know, what is it, $250 million in an index fund. So I think that's what I would do. I don't know, what about you? If you won the lottery, what would be your investment strategy? You know, I'm not sure. Alejandro says, I think FTX bought Voyager. I don't know. You know, here's what I do know. Does anybody remember the particular, I think it was a cryptocurrency-based hedge fund. It may have been 3 Arrows or something like that. 2 Arrows, I don't know. Didn't follow it too much. But the hedge fund blew up, and very savvy investors such as the folks over there at FTX. Here's the Bank of America tower in the distance, by the way. And also a notable investor, Dan Tapiero, scooped up a bunch of, let's just say, assets for pennies on the dollar during that liquidation phase. There seems to be a sort of outdoor bar here. It's kind of nice. Sweet Country Living in Michigan says, Tom, just wondering what your opinion would be on the Mastodon app. Just curious. I heard it was a replacement for Twitter. I've never even heard of it, honestly. What is that? You know, supposedly Elon Musk, what he said is that what he's trying to do with Twitter is make a social media platform called X.com. Did anybody hear that? Now, Elon Musk spoke at an investment conference in New York City, I actually think last night, and he sort of detailed his plan, which I think is, look, I support it. I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains, and obviously now that he's laid off about half the workforce, there's going to be a lot of bad press and a lot of people that are upset. But at the end of the day, I think it's probably going to turn out to be one of the most powerful companies and probably overtake that of Meta probably in 6 to 10 years. That's my crazy bet. Yeah, Alejandro, like X the Everything app, I think he tweeted. Yeah, you know, I think a lot of the Twitter stuff has turned to be political, but here's what I was thinking. I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Did anybody notice YouTube change the entire UI of the YouTube app? Did anybody notice that? And I think that change is going to make YouTube so much better. So maybe you guys don't know, or you probably do since you're watching YouTube now. If you go on your application and you click any YouTube channel you want, it segments and organizes the videos by live streams, by shorts, and by regular standalone videos. And it's such a little change, but it makes such a big difference, because before it was so unorganized and the pages just looked horrible. So I think that's gonna prompt me to put out more standalone type videos, more along the lines focused to finance, so it's not all cluttered up into one page. But what do you guys think of the new YouTube user interface? Okay, so Photos Around New York says, I did notice the UI. I thought it was well done. I did too. I think it was pretty good. You know, because before, everything was all mushed and jumbled up into one, and it didn't really make sense. I know, Greg's like, that should have happened on day one. True. Al Baker's here, good to see you. So here we are on I would say the second floor of Brickell City Center. We have another beautiful view of Mary Brickell Village here. You can see all the palm trees. Beautiful night, it's probably 75 degrees. Very low humidity here. Sweet Country Living in Michigan says you like the user interface. I do too. Sparks Carnival says, Tom, besides Palo Alto Securities, I think Arctic Wolf is a very promising cybersecurity company. Arctic Wolf, are they publicly traded? I've never heard of them. Now, I think if I had to pick two leading cybersecurity companies, number one would be Palo Alto Networks, and we've done streams as to why I think that. Did you guys see those two dogs in the little shopping cart there? Very bullish on that. But then I would have to say Zscaler. So ticker symbol ZI for Zscaler. Dan Russell says, Tom, do you think Elon Musk is going to implement Doge on Twitter? So I know I usually never like to talk about the sort of altcoins and crazy things like that, but I actually think that's a really, really good question, and I'll tell you why. I think that, so here's what I think that should happen for Twitter specifically. I think it should be an everything app, and I think they should incorporate mobile payments for commerce or e-commerce specifically on the application. So the way I use Twitter is mainly for financial Twitter or FinTwit. And there's a lot of very smart people and even very prominent professors that are on Twitter. So what if there was a way for us to purchase in real time either courses or webinars from professors that teach at NYU, for example, or really anybody? I think it should be an integrated platform where people can sell goods and services, buy goods and services, but sort of like what YouTube did, and this is why I brought up YouTube's user interface. Twitter should do the same exact thing. Like, they should make a Twitter news feed on one column. They should make a place where you could shop, sort of like on Facebook, like Facebook Marketplace. And then they should break it up into segments about which topics you're interested in. So if you are into the FinTwit space, if you're into the real estate Twitter space, it should be broken up like that, just so you don't have a lot of junk mixed in. So to answer your question, do I think Elon Musk is going to incorporate Doge? I think he's going to incorporate all mobile payments. So you'll be able to pay people in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, US dollars. And so maybe that incorporates Dogecoin, potentially. This is Lucid Motors, which actually went public via SPAC, or Special Purpose Acquisition Company. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? If there could be one or two things, right? Because there's obviously going to be a ton of changes coming to Twitter. If you could pick one or two things, big things, to suggest to Elon Musk to do, what do you think it would be? DA is here, says, good evening, Tom. Do you want the clocks to change or stay the same? I would like the clocks to stay the same. I think I would. Dan Lee says, Miami has some great shopping locations in general. Good to see you, Dan. So another good shopping location in Miami is in South Beach called Lincoln Road. But that is really, really far away from here. But the good news is, and thank you to our friend Action Kid, he notified us that the Metro Mover is going to be going all the way to South Beach, which is just a total game changer. That's going to be amazing. Kathy Lyons is here, says happy Saturday night, Tom. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you, Kathy. Yeah, Mike was like, SPACs are so 2021. Yeah, SPACs are the biggest, I think, known legal fraud on Wall Street. That's what I'll say about that. So here's another shot of the Lucid vehicle. You have the charging port there. But I don't know, I think I'd still get a Tesla over Lucid or even any of the other automakers like GM. The LT Prod says, I would tell Elon to pay more attention to companies competing for Tesla. You know, the LT Prod, there was a very good article in the Wall Street Journal that said exactly that. Now, it was an opinion piece, right? But I still read the opinion section all the time in the Wall Street Journal. And it essentially said this. Even though Elon Musk is a super genius, and we shouldn't doubt him, obviously, do you think that Elon Musk can honestly run Twitter, run SpaceX, run Neuralink all at the same time without having any sort of degradation to the business? I don't know. I think if there's one person that could do it, I think it's Elon Musk. But yeah, then again, maybe he's getting himself a little bit too far deep in the water here with Twitter. Who knows? Hey, Nicholas Duras here. Says, hey Tom, have you been to Bayside Marketplace? Yeah, we went there yesterday. Now the thing about Bayside Marketplace, it's under construction, so like half of it's sort of hard to walk through there, but I think in maybe 6 months to a year it's gonna be really nice. Hey, Mr. Wonderful says, such contrasting yet equally stunning scenery between New York City and Miami. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, this is I think they call it the mini Manhattan, which is, you know, where the majority of the development is happening here in Miami. Really, really nice. I also like downtown Miami. Ryan Royal says, Elon seems to have his companies confused and launched Twitter into the sun. Yeah. Look, I mean, I don't want to be one of those people to, you know, throw stones and doubt, you know, Elon Musk, because time and time again, this guy, you ever meet somebody where they have such outlandish expectations for things and you're like, you're never going to pull that off, and then they wind up pulling it off? Well, that's Elon Musk. So I mean, if there's anybody who could pull it off and make a successful platform, it's him. However, I will say this, supposedly, or I would say allegedly, we don't know if it's true, but Elon Musk said that Twitter is burning about $4 million in cash a day, losing $4 million a day, mainly due to a lot of the advertisers pulling, this is a beautiful dog right here, mainly due to a lot of some prominent advertisers pulling from the platform, such as Pfizer. GM, I think, was a company that pulled their advertising. Hey, Sabrina Fair is here. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Harry Connor says, you think he's spread too thin? It's possible. It's possible. Greg says, integrate AM stations globally into relaying Twitter text to compete with 5G. So that's another company, right? Starlink. I'm not sure what you said there, but I just don't understand how he's so productive and runs all these companies. I honestly have no idea. But he hasn't proved us wrong yet, or he hasn't doubted us yet, I'd say, or his shareholders for that matter. Hey, Photos from around New York. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Outer Haven says Elon is going to be using Twitter to communicate when he lands on Mars. Yeah, that's, I think that may be sooner than we think. Oh, before I forget, so speaking about Tesla, I was listening to a really, really good interview that I think you guys should listen to. But obviously, knowing me, I forgot to program the interview link to the Nightbot as usual. So I think you guys are just gonna have to try to find it on yourself. So it's Ron Barron. So Ron Barron is the CEO and the founder of the Barron Funds, and he is one of the best, by far, growth stock investors of all time. And he was a very, very early on investor in Tesla when many, many analysts and portfolio managers on Wall Street were doubting the company altogether. And I think he made something like over $2 billion just on Tesla alone. So there was a really interesting interview with Ron Barron. I think it was with CNBC, I think. And essentially what he says, he's like, look, where Tesla is trading at right now, the money he's investing into Tesla today, he expects an equal or greater return in Tesla than what he put in when the company first went public. So, I mean, think about that. That would imply that Tesla is going to be, you know, somewhere in the realm of, you know, a $5 trillion or $6 trillion market cap. Now, I don't know about that. I think that's a little bit ridiculous, but if anybody remembered when we covered Tesla's earnings report, one of the things that Elon Musk said during the conference call, I think he said this to one of the analysts, I think he may have been from Credit Suisse. He said that he expects Tesla to have a larger market cap than Apple, than Microsoft, and Saudi Aramco combined. So that would imply a $5 trillion market cap or $6 trillion market cap. How it's going to get there, I don't know, but we'll see. Now, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's overkill? And do you think that's just Elon Musk trying to, quote unquote, pump the stock before he has to sell a lot of the shares to fund the Twitter deal? I don't know. We'll see. Hey, Dan Lee is here. Says Facebook is full of illicit sponsored ads that were often not scams. Dude, I think Dan Lee gets the comment of the night so far because it is so egregious. And even, I'm going to sort of put the blame on Alphabet, Google, YouTube, whatever you want to call it as well, because I'm not sure about you guys, but anytime I watch a YouTube advertisement, I'm gonna go big here. I'm gonna say about 65% of the time, the advertisement is a total just fraud nonsense, right? Either somebody trying to sell me, a pyramid scheme, an MLM scheme. So I think they need to do a better job with, I would say, the ethics of these advertisements. Let's just say that. That's a very good point. But at the end of the day, what I always follow this rule. I'm like, follow the money. So do you think that Alphabet, do you think that Meta is going to do anything about these nefarious advertisements if they're getting paid? Probably not. Probably not. Yeah, the LT Prod says the YouTube advertisements are offensive. I agree. Here, let me give you guys a shot of the SLX Lux Tower. These are my two favorite buildings here. Now, where we're standing right now in the Mary Brickell Village, they're gonna, I think, tear down the entire thing, and there's gonna be super tall skyscrapers. So definitely gonna be a lot of change here. Bottomless Coffee says, where in Miami is this? So we are in Mary Brickell Village. We just stepped outside from the WeWork office, which is in Brickell City Center. Lex S says, Tom, are you old enough to remember to come see the softer side Sears jingles? I am not, but I do remember vaguely, not from experience. I remember my parents telling me about it. I'm blanking on the name. It was this Crazy Eddie. Is anybody old enough to remember Crazy Eddie? Now, I'm not, but my family's from Long Island, and supposedly that guy was on the TV all the time with crazy stuff. Anybody old enough to remember Crazy Eddie? Maybe not. Hey Maria, good to see you. Welcome. Abdullah is here. This is beautiful. Aaron says, Tom, Elon is an INTJ, same as Nikola Tesla. They aren't human and why they could do what they do. Interesting. I think I'm an INFJ. I don't know. I think I had to take one of those Myers-Briggs things before, and supposedly my personality type is the most rare. I'm not sure what that means, but Freak Hansen says his deals were insane. M says, good evening, Tom. I hope you've had a great week. Good to see you back in Miami. Yeah, it's definitely good to be back. It's good to take a little break from New York City. It was an absolutely gorgeous day today. I was telling the rest of the chat that I spent the majority of my day near 72nd Street between 80th Street in North Beach, Miami. And they're doing some amazing things over there. For anybody familiar with that particular neighborhood, not really that touristy over there, but they're just breaking ground on some super tall skyscrapers there as well. Adriana D says, hey, good to see ya. The LT Prod says, unless Google and Meta require advertisers to verify identity, they can't ban bad actors and scammers. Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, right? And here's the real question. Do they want to? Well, they should, right? The ethical thing would be they should want to ban the scammers and nefarious actors, but they spend a lot of money on the platform, and I think that's why there won't be. I will say this about Twitter. Every single time, and I've noticed something, and if you guys follow me on Twitter, @WalksWallStreet, you notice I post a lot of, charts and financial analysis and things like that, but very, very seldom anymore do I ever post about Bitcoin. Almost never, because every single time I post a chart update or just some on-chain data statistics of Bitcoin, my feed is inundated with scammers. Just saying, like, it's almost instantaneously, like they must build algorithms to scan Twitter that says anytime somebody tweets about cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, one of the things we're gonna do is just spam the comments with all nonsense, like click here, click this link, send Bitcoin to this address. And I don't know, I sort of, I don't wanna run the risk of anybody falling for those schemes. So I've actually resorted to not even tweeting about it at all. It's insane. Yeah, DAce is about 3,700 people let go from Twitter. I think it's about half the company he laid off. Now, I think this is more normal than you'd think, and we talked about this last night, but this is a lot, it's very, very normal for these type of things to happen. And here's my theory. My theory is that we've been living in an environment of extremely, extremely artificially suppressed interest rates and perpetual quantitative easing. And that has caused a lot of these tech companies to suffer from bloat, like extreme, extreme amounts of bloat. And they can afford to do that when debt is super cheap, but when debt is expensive, they have to be very, very efficient with their hires and cut costs. And now that debt is not cheap anymore, you're seeing not only layoffs at Twitter, but you're seeing layoffs at, I think Twilio announced layoffs. I think Stripe, which is sort of like a fintech company, announced layoffs. So I definitely don't think that this is just spiteful. Elon Musk is saying, hey, we want to lay off a bunch of people because they don't agree with my political opinions. I think there was a tremendous amount of bloat at Twitter, in my view. John, good to see you. Welcome. John, I actually have a funny story about that. I'm not gonna lie. Austin City Limits, welcome. Trust you're well. All right, so we are walking up Miami Avenue. We're gonna make a right here because I want to show you guys a pretty nice view. But tonight, hopefully we can make our way all the way to Brickell Key. Now, Brickell Key is an unbelievable place. It's not a big party place, it's not super crazy, but it is very secluded from Brickell and very secluded from downtown Miami. I mean, the only way you can get there is either by driving or walking over a bridge, and it is gorgeous. You have amazing views of the city. And I want to show you guys, and hopefully very, very soon, we will actually have access to some apartments there so I could show you guys in real time. But here is a view of Brickell from the south side. Yeah, Joseph Hardaway says they worked their way to TikTok, talking about Forex and Bitcoin. So I've actually refused to download TikTok. I think, yeah, let's just say definitely not too good. Now, the Biden administration is actually taking some serious precautions here as it relates to TikTok. And I think that they're actually doing the right thing. I think the Biden administration is doing the right thing by taking a very, very close look at the social media platform TikTok. Now, I tried to give you guys the news and sort of my opinions, try to be apolitical, but you guys tend to know I tend to lean conservative, but I try to not sort of pitch it with the bias. But I will say, the two things that I am most pleased about the Biden administration is that they're taking cybersecurity very, very seriously. They've announced that they believe that cyber is a national security threat, which it is, and they've announced that they're going to spend multi-billions of dollars increasing cybersecurity infrastructure in America. I think it's the right thing to do. The second thing, I think, is really taking a close look at TikTok, because I think it's, if you read the fine print on TikTok, it's, let's just say it's not good. It's essentially just like a data gathering site. John, I didn't know that. Somebody says TikTok has a lot of animal abuse videos. I didn't know that. I don't know about that. I mean, I've never been on it. I've seen like some, but I didn't know about the animal abuse stuff. Well, I think it's about the data transparency, right? So a lot of times, and this is exactly what we talked about with Snapchat's earnings report, right? Very similar. So Snapchat's advertising revenue has really, really fallen off a cliff, and that was due to the updated privacy policy from Apple. Sort of when you really can't track a lot of users as they roam about the web, so it's very difficult to serve up targeted advertising to these customers. But with TikTok, it's almost like you're agreeing, and nobody reads the fine print of the terms and service. But if you actually go and read the terms of service when you sign up for TikTok, it's almost just like a data mining machine, and they have the right to sell your data, to track your habits. It's definitely, in my opinion, and I know everybody has a lot of diverse opinions about it, but not good, in my view. So everybody, we know that the midterm elections are coming up, which is going to be next week. So it's going to be extremely, extremely volatile in the market. But a lot of the times on the channel, as I was sort of reflecting on the past 2-3 weeks, it seems like a lot of the topics of conversation has been very negative. Now, not for a specific reason, but because all of the economic news that has been coming out has been very negative. So when we try, guy's weird. So when we try to analyze this stuff, it could seem like we're just putting out a lot of negative aspects about the market. But the good news is almost 100% of the time, if you look 12 months after the midterm elections, so November 8th, which is going to be Tuesday, is when the midterms are going to roll around. 12 months after the midterms, there's about a 90% probability that the market is going to be higher 12 months from the date of the midterm elections. So I guess that's what we have to look forward to. It would be an extreme anomaly if it wasn't. And there's a couple reasons for this. I think the biggest reason for that is because of uncertainty. So financial markets absolutely hate uncertainty. Right now, the country is probably the most polarized as it's ever been on a political front, if we, talk about our politicians. But we could possibly be setting up for one of the most positive stock market scenarios as it relates to the political environment. And we've said this before, but I think it's really important to keep repeating it up until the midterms, because maybe some of you haven't heard. So there was some research out of Fundstrat, which is Tom Lee's equity research firm that is based in Manhattan. And it shows that the stock market performs the best when you have a Democrat as a president, which we have, President Joe Biden, and you have Republicans controlling the House and the Senate. Now, if there's the quote unquote, and again, sort of keeping on topic of the financial aspect here, if we have a quote unquote red wave, right? I'm using air quotes here, and we have Republicans take over the majority of the House and the Senate. Statistically, that is by far the best scenario for the equity market. So I'm not saying that's what I want to happen. I'm not saying I don't want it to happen. But if it does happen and we do get this sort of theoretical red wave here, statistics show markets are 99% of the time positive 12 months later. Les is here, so am I still timed out? Hey Alicia, good to see you. Always a pleasure. Hey Western Mass Dave, good to see you, my friend. All right, we'll do one lap here, and then we're gonna cut over to the right, and then I'll take you guys over the bridge to Brickell Key. Hopefully the what's it called? The internet is gonna hold up. Tomorrow Today is here, welcome. 3D Alpha, good to see you. Adriana says hello everybody and happy Saturday. Thanks so much. Hey, Teresa Diaz, thank you so much for being here. Says Tom, 24,000 subs. Wow, that's insane. That's crazy. Well, thank you everybody for subscribing and joining the channel. It's been a blast so far. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the content as we stream Miami, Florida, and New York City, and talk about the financial markets. Diamond Dave says, Tom, love the new Chevy Corvettes. I see a lot of them here in Miami. You know, I do too. I do too. Now, they look very, very similar to Ferraris for some reason. So speaking of cars, Diamond Dave, I've been seeing a lot of rumblings on Twitter that the repo markets are going crazy. And what I mean by repo markets, not to be confused with like rates and repo from the Fed, things like that, but there's been a lot of repossessions in vehicles. Now, this is anecdotal data, but a lot of people, prominent people on Twitter who work in the industry have been seeing a huge uptick in repossessions, which could potentially mean the resale market or used car market is about to take a big hit. And that is very, very positive as we talk about wanting to bring down inflation, and also for anybody who's looking to buy a car, right? You know, maybe in 6 months to a year, you can get a really, really good deal on like a used vehicle. Anybody else seeing anything similar to that in the used car market, or if we have anybody who runs a dealership? I know we used to have one guy that actually ran a dealership here who would always comment. Hey, Marilyn is here from Murray Hill, New York. She says, hey, everybody hit the like button and sub. Thank you, Marilyn. Good to see you. So all of our New York friends, how was the weather today in New York? Good day? Hopefully it was a good one. You know, I went to the beach for a brief moment today. I'd say probably I spent 20 to 30 minutes just sort of sitting on the sand. And the water was like so blue, it was almost like it wasn't even real. It was insane. Vonda Howard is here, says, hey Sabrina, good to see you. Big Talk, welcome. You know, there's always people outside of this place. It's called Sexy Fish. Does anybody know what it is? Is it a hotel? Is it a club? I don't even know. Or maybe it's like luxury apartments and hotel in one. Who knows? But it doesn't matter what day it is. It could be Monday or it could be Saturday. For whatever reason, there's always a line here. Hey, Prince, it's Tom. It was 73 degrees here in Miami. I mean, in New York City. That's awesome, man. That's like Miami, Florida weather, dude. That's sick. Oh, Action Kid says it's an upscale Asian restaurant. Is it really? Wow, I've never been. Have you been there, Action Kid? Maybe I'll have to check it out. It looks like there's a dress code though, so I may have to dress up. Action Kid says there's also a museum-like artwork and ambiance inside. It's nuts. Dude, you gotta shoot a video about that and post it so I can see it. Oh, Diamond Dave, I think this is one of your Corvettes here. Is this one of them? Diamond Dave, I think this is what you're talking about, these ones. The Garlic says Drake celebrated his birthday there? Wow. I think he has a really, really nice place in Miami. All right, I'll give Diamond Dave a quick shot of his vehicle here, and then we'll head out to Brickell Key, so we're right on time. Hey, the British Craig, good to see you from Tampa, Florida. Welcome. Hope you're feeling better. Yeah, Minshew says record high weather for tomorrow's marathon in New York City. You know, I think we talked about this before. I said, you know, the seasons are changing. Because I remember a couple years ago walking around New York City on Christmas Day and it was like 65 degrees. I think what's happening, not to get everybody super riled up about a whole climate debate here, quick segue here. I really like these. I think they're the new Rolls Royce, what is it called? SUV type cars. I kind of like the look of it. Anyway, so here's sort of what I theorize. I really think that the seasons are moving, like shifting 1 month out. And the reason why I say that is because on my birthday, right around Memorial Day, May 25th, it's always freezing now in New York. But when I was a kid, it was always 85 degrees, sunny, and now it's freezing. Anyway. Greg says, doesn't Tom Cruise have property in Miami? I'm sure he has multiple properties. I'm not sure exactly where, but... Austin City Limits says, Tom, are you going to enter the New York City Marathon? Maybe next year. I think I'm going to run it next year. So you have to qualify for the New York City Marathon. So you have to run other races. But I think what I may do is apply for like a press pass or like a charity pass and run the marathon and live stream it. And any of the donations that we get while we're running the marathon will go to like a good cause, like St. Jude's Children's Hospital, something like that. Because I think on YouTube, you could actually set all of your donations and advertising dollars to go to charity. So I think we may do that. But we'll have to do that next year. All right, we got to start moving here. Drewski says Moxie's is also good. I heard about that too. Now, the funny thing is I almost never eat at any of the restaurants here. Mainly because I tend to eat further uptown in North Miami Beach. Yeah, Ryan Royals like love that idea. I'm thinking about it. I think I may do it next year. This is the lobby of the SLS Lux building. So once we get to the corner here, we're gonna make a right, and that should take us to the bridge that we could walk over to get to Brickell Key. Look at the dog in the thing. I've been noticing a lot of that in Miami. People carry their dogs around in like a stroller. I don't understand why. All right, so if we continue down here, we should hit right into the bridge that will take us to Brickell Key. Really quick, this place is always packed here. I'm not sure if this is a nightclub, but this place is always packed. There's always a line here, especially on Saturdays. Now, if you look at sort of the upper floors, I think 2 months ago, there was a big fire here. Fortunately, it didn't cause too much damage, but I think the entire building had to be evacuated. Yeah, right in here. Brooks is here, good to see you. Somebody says 40th Rooftop Lounge. Jason Francis is Tom, is Miami expensive to live at? Unfortunately, yes, it is. So here's the funny thing. One of the reasons why I moved down to Miami, or was looking to move to Miami originally, because the cost of living was a little bit cheaper. But then the pandemic happened and now it's almost as expensive as New York City. Now here's the good news. Okay, let's make a move around here. The good news is this. In the state of Florida, ooh, this is my favorite color Tesla right here. The charcoal. The good thing about the state of Florida is there's no state income tax, which is good. But the cost of living here is extremely high. Now, if you want to rent an apartment around here, like Brickell, downtown Miami, it's going to be almost as price competitive as New York City. You know, I think you can get a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment in downtown Miami, maybe like $2,500. Studios, you could probably rent one for $2,300 to $2,500, something like that. But Brickell, like if you wanted to rent a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom in the SLS Lux building, I mean, you could be talking like $3,500 for a 1-bedroom. But the thing is, the further north you go, generally speaking, the cheaper it gets. Except for when you go to Sunny Isles Beach, because that is considered the billionaire's row of Miami. So if you guys remember from our New York City streams, you always walk 57th Street. Well, if you go to Sunny Isles Beach, that is Miami's billionaire's row. But I think these are my new favorite apartment buildings here, which is the W Hotel and Tower. I don't know, they just have such a unique look to them. And amazing views, crazy views. But let's cross over towards 801 Brickell, and we are gonna head towards the Mandarin Oriental building, which is actually a hotel that is also in the Deutsche Bank Tower in New York. For those of you who frequent the New York City live streams, it's right there, 59th Street, Columbus Circle. But speaking about rent, we do have some good news. And I think rent declined for the first time on average in New York for the first time, and I think nationally too. But here's the thing that I think may keep some pressure to the upside on rents. And that is because if we think about what just happened, so anybody who bought a home, right, within the last year, or just really anybody in general, what do we think happened over the last year? I mean, I just got it in the mail maybe about a month ago. My tax bill. And my property tax bill, I mean, my God, talk about ridiculous. I mean, not as ridiculous as if I were to, you know, go to something like Nassau, Suffolk County, but ridiculous nonetheless. So as landlords have their property taxes increased, you think they're just going to eat that costs? No, they're probably going to pass it on to the tenant. And I think that may keep some pressure on rents. Anybody in the chat have any crazy stories this year about their property taxes going up? Or maybe some of you didn't get an increase, but I would assume that anybody in the chat who's a homeowner probably saw a little bit of an uptick in your taxes. Somebody says Miami is beautiful. It is. Definitely is. Blake 46. Thank you for joining. Sunshine L is here. The LT prod says yes, it went up. Now, I think the Houston market is going to have some issues, but I think I may save that for another live stream. Action Kid is here, says mine went up. It's less expensive to pay it by November 30th than March 31st. Yeah, I think we get, what do we get? What is the discount? Like 5% discount or something like that? Mitty Matty says it caught me off guard, unfortunately. So here's the interesting thing, everybody, and not to pick on a market here, but a lot of the people, hold that thought, I just want to make sure I cross. Here's another downside of Miami though. Since our public transportation is lacking a little bit, this is what you get. You get crazy, crazy traffic almost all the time. But a lot of the people who bought in Texas, more specifically places like Dallas and Houston, who were attracted by a lot of the, you know, no income tax. A lot of parts of Texas have ridiculous, and I'm talking about ridiculous, property taxes, almost as bad as like Long Islanders. I'm not sure if we have any Long Islanders like Nassau, Suffolk County. So when you bought that, you know, $400,000 house in Houston, you know, you could probably be expecting like a $10,000 property tax bill, maybe even more. So just be aware of that. Wow, Mitty Matty says having property taxes go up 25% from last year is awful. Not very happy particularly. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely crushing. Now, if you are in Florida, I would do the homestead exemption, but I think that kicks in the next year. Drew, okay, Suffolk County. Yeah, I'm Nassau County, but still good. All right, team, this is Brickell Key. This is the only way to get on the island, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And I will take you guys there tonight. Hopefully the internet holds up, because usually the internet is a little bit shaky as we go over Brickell Key. But you're gonna see amazing views of some of the best buildings in Miami. You're gonna see an amazing shot. It's just gonna rip your face off of the beautiful Aston Martin building that is going to be completed later this year. And you're also gonna see the 200 Southeast Financial Center, which is one of the tallest office buildings in Miami. And right now on the 20th floor is where Ken Griffin and his friends at Citadel Securities are having their office until their massive office building is complete, I think sometime in 2025. So they do have a temporary office in the 200 Southeast Financial Center. But right here is the Mandarin Oriental Hotel. It is a 5-star hotel. Really, really beautiful. All right, so I'll stop really quick. I'll give you guys a view looking southbound here. You have a really, really nice skyline view. Now for anybody, and maybe even Action Kid if you're still watching, what is the name of this big building? Action Kid, if he's still here, is gonna know this in a second. But I guess this building is the tallest, or one of the tallest, luxury apartment buildings in Miami. I think that's it right there. And here you have the Bank of America Tower with the nice plane flying over. Ah, Bob, you're right, Zozo Bob Panorama Tower, there you go. But this is my favorite shot right here, overlooking the water. And these two buildings, well, I would say three, is the W Hotel and Tower. Amazing, amazing. And then right behind it, you could see the one and only Aston Martin building, which I think is already about 97% sold out. It's not even built yet. Sometimes you could see some manatees here. Now during the day, you could actually see huge sea turtles swimming in and out of the water here. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We usually do these live streams about 5 days a week between New York City and Miami, Florida. Monday through Friday, we tend to talk about the financial markets. Saturday is our day off, so we sort of just explore, hang out, and sometimes talk about the financial markets. And Sunday is our stock market, a look ahead stream, where we cover all of the prominent events coming up on the week ahead on Wall Street. And next week is going to be extremely, extremely busy. But here we have Brickell Key. So imagine living in one of these apartments right here. Could you imagine how insane your view is every morning? Watching the sunrise over the beautiful city of Miami. And here you have a more complete view of the Aston Martin building. Yeah, Sparks Carnival, it's a good point. You know, I think 90% of the stocks in the Dow 30 have reported earnings, except Disney. I think that's the only one we're waiting on. You know what? I wanted to mention this to the group, and it just popped in my head because we were talking about Houston. Did anybody see the article in the Wall Street Journal today talking about ExxonMobil? Now, I'll spoil the article for you, but I think you guys should read it anyway. Here's another view of the Mandarin Oriental. Now, ExxonMobil, and I'm noticing a very, very big trend here. And the first time we talked about this was when Meta, which is Mark Zuckerberg's company, reported earnings. And one of the things we talked about is, holy crap, look at all of their capital expenditures. And next year, Mark Zuckerberg and team is forecasting about $101 billion worth of spending next year. Now, if you really looked at what a lot of that spending is going to be, yes, it's going to be for bringing new data centers online. Yes, it's going to be research and development into artificial intelligence and machine learning. We get that. New servers. But did you guys notice something? They spent, I think, about $1 billion to break a lot of their leases. and they're either trying to sublet a lot of their office space or just sell it outright. Now, ExxonMobil announced that they're trying to do the same exact thing at their Houston campus. So I think this is a trend here. I think you're going to start to see big companies, they're going to assess their situation. They're going to be like, look, we don't even use 50% of our office space, right? So there's no reason for us to keep it all. So we're either going to A, sublet the space, or B, we're just going to sell it and dump it and dispose of it anyway. And in the Wall Street Journal article, they said that they did an analysis after COVID. So once things sort of started to open back up again, and still to this day, ExxonMobil is utilizing less than 50% of their main headquartered office space in Houston, Texas. And now they're trying to either sublet some of the space or sell it off. So I think you're going to see, if you're talking about a real estate crash or a real estate impact here, for lack of better words, I think you're going to see a lot of that in more along the lines of big office spaces, commercial real estate, which may be a hidden blessing, because whenever there's pandemonium and panic, it creates opportunity. And right now we have a huge inventory supply shock. There's pretty much no inventory on the market still, as you're talking about single family homes and apartments. So over the next coming years, it could be a good thing if, you know, developers work with state and local governments to reappropriate some of these office buildings and turn them into, I don't know, residential apartments. I think that may solve all of our issues here. But I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Or maybe if you guys and gals work at a company, are you hearing sort of the same thing? We're gonna start to dissolve our office space, downsize. El Sunshine, welcome. Hey, Rusty is here. This is best part of the stream. Good to see you. Trust Boston, welcome. Wow, check out that full moon over the Mandarin Oriental. That's insane. James Dixon says at the Mandarin Oriental you have a restaurant called Lamar. It's Peruvian and it's amazing. I'm gonna have to check it out. I never come over here. Oh, I see the sign for it right there. Lamar, interesting. I think this is probably my favorite view here. You have the massive palm tree and the city in the back. Dr. Long, this is Tom. Have you ever seen the movie Moneyball by Brad Pitt, based on a true story of how small market teams in baseball kept up with large market teams by finding ways to get more for their money? I have not, but I'll have to check it out. I'm not a big movie guy. I hardly ever watch movies, but I'll watch that one. The dark horse says, I do not think the zoning would be favorable. Well, they did that with a building down on Wall Street. The address is 95 Wall Street. I think I've taken you guys there before. But they made it into luxury apartment buildings because obviously New York demands it. But I think it would be better to, you know, maybe encourage developers for more, I would say, middle of the road. Tom G says Exxon has a 500-year plan. They own what they need to own. Already Exxon is bigger than most countries. They are a thing apart. They walk in 7-league boots. Rich is, it's a beautiful night in Miami. Thank you so much. Melissa White says buy land. You know, I think if I were to buy, I think I told you guys a couple times, but I'll repeat it again now that we're on the topic of real estate. But hold that thought. Check out all of these brand new apartment buildings that are being built. These look beautiful here. Tons of construction. So if you have an apartment here, this is your entire view over the water. Now, the only downside about Brickell Key is it's so isolated. Now, that could be a good thing and a bad thing, right? But I mean, how cool would it be if they made a Metro Mover extension, just crush it over the water here and make it go to Brickell Key? Now, that would probably cost way too much for to service this few amount of people, but I think they should make it happen. Hey, Pup is here. Says, do you watch TV? Very, very seldom do I watch TV, honestly. Very, very seldom. Now, I do have a TV in my house. But, here's another thing. Here's what's interesting. And I think it's good to talk about this because we briefly touched on Twitter today. I mainly consume most of my content and my news on Twitter and YouTube. Like, I couldn't see myself sitting down on the couch in front of the TV. I mean, mainly because I'm always out and about on the go, but I think Twitter and YouTube do a good job of serving you up sort of what you need, right? Now, you guys know every single weekend I crush through, the Wall Street Journal, Investors Business Daily, and Barron's, but for non-financial news, right? Let's just say like basic local news or like political things. I never watch the TV. Why would I pay for like CNN or Fox News? I think that's just ridiculous when I could go on YouTube and watch maybe like a 5-minute clip from a CNN or a 5-minute clip from Fox News or something like that. Which even that, I very, very hardly ever watch CNN for obvious reasons. And I very hardly ever watch Fox News for obvious reasons. I tend to support a lot of independent journalists. I think it's better. So right here is the Miami Riverwalk. And there's a pretty good restaurant right here we always pass by. So this is sort of what I'm getting with this. If Elon Musk made Twitter like this, I think it'd be the best application in the world by far. Couldn't even touch it. They should segment Twitter into very, very dedicated and specific pages. So for example, if you go onto your Twitter account, you just see one big feed and it's very unorganized. It has a bunch of stuff. What they should do is they should have individual tabs. So one tab for news, one tab for long form video, one tab for short form video content, another tab for sports, right? So you know which tab you're going to. You're sort of segmented away from the crowd. And I think that would be very, very good for creators too, especially if you're talking about like the finance world. You could even have entire courses by very notable professors, and they could go direct to consumer and market those courses, right? Could you imagine going to Professor DeModeran's Twitter page and he has, 40-minute videos, 50-minute video lessons, and to access them you pay, $5.99, $6.99, something like that. I think that would be a massive, massive hit. And that would be a good way to monetize the platform instead of, charging everybody $8. I don't know, those are just my thoughts. Yeah, Ollie Star says, and you can opt in and out of tabs. All right, let's see if we see any manatees. There's anything jumping out of the water here, any dolphins? Jay says, imagine shredding your McLaren through these streets. Only if I had one, right? Greg says, I agree, submit your idea to Elon. I may just have to submit the idea. He'll probably never see it, but maybe. Because here's rule number one. Here's my rule number one. If you offer something for free at first, you never really want to renege on that and then charge for it. It's just not a good user experience. Like, okay, we do these, okay, this is a good example. Like these live streams, right? I mean, you guys aren't, I mean, it's pretty much free, right? I mean, you watch an advertisement, right? When you click on the, what's it called? The link, right? You watch an ad, but I'm not saying $50 a month to watch the stream. No, and had I done that, well, then nobody would watch the stream and the stream wouldn't be as big as it is and it would be awkward almost. So I think Elon is violating that specific rule. If it's always been free for people, it's very, very difficult to start to charge for it. Now, what you could do is this, and this is sort of where it was a little bit of fake news where the media was like, oh, Elon's just going to charge everybody for Twitter. That's not what he wanted to do. It was saying, look, for $8.99, you get verified and you can have the option of posting long form content. Your replies to other people's tweets will automatically be pushed above all of the bots, and you get different perks and things like that, right? But I think just to say a subscription just to be on the platform, I don't think it's ever going to work, right? Now you could have like categories and nuances, but I think just to say broad-based, if you want to be on Twitter, you got to pay for it. It's never going to work. It's never, ever going to materialize. Ryan Royal says you can make lists on Twitter and put whoever you want in the list, and then tab over to the feed. Those are just for people's accounts. Yeah, so I know they do have that. I know they do have that now, but here's the issue with that I've seen. You have a lot of spammers that will add you to like their lists in their groups, and it's still very sort of convoluted. What I would like to do is just to, it's sort of like how the layout of Instagram is, right? If you want to watch long form content or short form content, I guess the best way I could describe it is I think the new YouTube user interface, or the UI of YouTube, Twitter should literally take that and just rip it off and it would be perfect, right? You have your categories, you have your video. I think it would just be a huge hit. All right, so we made it, everybody. Man, it is super, super peaceful here. The Bandit says, who pays for that garbage app? I feel like a better human being for not having Twitter. This is the Bandit. Rich says $8 is for perks, not just to be on Twitter. Yeah, so yeah, exactly what we just explained. Like you get more things for it. So I agree. Hey, DowJones.eth is here. This is Twitter for the win. Good to see you, Dow Jones. Welcome to Miami, my friend. So this is the Aston Martin building, and allegedly this building, once it's complete, is gonna glow bright white. So imagine this entire building glowing in a luminous white. Sort of like the Miami Tower. That's gonna be insane. But I guess in conclusion, my thoughts on Twitter is I think right now Twitter is the only social media platform that provides more value to the viewers, depending on how you use it, right? Now, I mainly use it for like financial Twitter, fin Twitter, real estate Twitter. And the reason why I like it is because you can communicate with some very, very prominent financial figures, hedge fund managers, people that own private equity firms, and the way that it's laid out is they'll communicate with you, right? I've made many, many connections over Twitter. People in the hedge fund business, people that own huge multifamily real estate portfolios, and it's a very good way for people to get exposure from a non-traditional way, right? So let's say if you post a lot of your equity research on Twitter, chances are somebody is going to see that. So maybe it's just I'm using it in a different way, but I mean, all of these other people are on Facebook too. They're on Instagram as well. And I think the reach just isn't quite there. I think on Twitter, since you're limited to, 140 characters, it sort of forces the creator or the person that's on Twitter to be very, very concise, and it's easier for people to digest. So that's one of my actual concerns, because Elon Musk did just tweet that he is going to get rid of the 140 characters, and I think that's one of the things that drew me to the platform. So we'll see. Anyway, so this is the 200 Southeast Financial Center right here. So we actually start the live streams from this building the majority of the time. Now, the 20th floor is the WeWork building. However, Citadel Securities, Ken Griffin, they just acquired the entire left-hand side of the office building, and that is where all of the employees of Citadel Securities, which is a huge quantitative-based hedge fund on Wall Street, will be working. Now, with that said, interesting segue here. We may not have a live stream. Oh, check out this airplane. So interesting segue here. Speaking of Citadel Securities, we may not be having a live stream on Monday. And the reason is I will be attending an event. I will actually be sitting front row. So I will be either filling you guys in on it on the Behind the Street newsletter, or we'll be talking about it on Tuesday. But I will be attending an event where Ken Griffin from Citadel Securities will be having a conversation with the Miami mayor, Francis Suarez. And that is going to be at Monday at I think it's at the Miami Convention Center. So I'll be there. It should get out at 7:30. We usually stream at 8:30, but there's going to be a networking event after, which I definitely do want to take full advantage of that. And I will fill you guys in. You know, Ken Griffin is an extremely, extremely prominent figure in finance. He started Citadel Securities out of his Harvard dorm room and grew it into a multi-billion-dollar empire in the hedge fund business. He actually moved and relocated the entire company from Chicago, Illinois, to right here in Miami, Florida. So he's going to be talking about the future of Miami, obviously doing a quick market overview, talking about the Federal Reserve, monetary policy, but more specifically, the future of Miami. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about that and stay up to date on our financial topics, if you scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, you'll be signed up for free to read the Behind the Street newsletter, which is a free financial newsletter that I write for everybody in the group, where we talk about the US equity market, we talk about emerging markets, fixed income, and the like. So we'd love to have you guys over there. And I will be doing a quick write-up on the keynote speech from Citadel Securities, Ken Griffin. Rich Child says, when the ones who think they're elite lose their blue checks and have to pay for it, perhaps. Yeah, I think just the problem that everybody's trying to solve right now is a lot of the spam bots on Twitter. Now, if you could solve the spam bots, the platform will be great. Hey, Jonathan is here. Hey, Jonathan. Manuel, good to see you. I think I actually met you in person on one of these live streams before. Ash says, hey, Miami looks nice, but that place has no railing for water. It makes me anxious. Yeah, I know. And here's the thing. During high tide, you could have some of the water spill over here. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys Brickell Key. It is an absolutely gorgeous place here. But we'll head back across the way. Hey, Line Sync, good to see you. Dow Jones says, I don't pay for Twitter, and there is plenty to see. Crypto bots are very scammy. Yeah, that's true. So I may pay in the future. So here's the only circumstance where I may pay for Twitter. I'd pay $8.99 for this. Again, if they could segment a lot of those tabs, and it will allow me to post long form content on Twitter and not condense the resolution. Because right now, if you post any video on Twitter, it's so horrible looking, it condenses it down to like 480p. Does anybody notice that? So if you're able to watch 4K video on Twitter, long form content, that's just going to be a game changer. Because I would I would post videos of me building like financial models and things like that, right? A DCF model, and then other analysts could watch it, comment on it, say, hey, I think you made a mistake here, I think this is a good thesis. And it's a better platform to do it than YouTube, because that's where all of the prominent financial figures are. So I would do things like that. I think it would be a huge success. But I don't know, that's just some of the ideas. The Bandit says, Twitter is the worst thing that social media has to offer. Elon Musk owning it just reaffirms my beliefs, says the Bandit. Well, I disagree, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. I respect it. Yeah, DowJones.eth says Twitter is 10 million times better to learn finance, in my opinion. Agreed. I remember when I first joined Twitter, very surprised to see a lot of very prominent figures on there. And I don't know why. Twitter is a very weird sphere. You could go deep into the depths of hell of political Twitter, which I actually mute all those keywords. I think I have, so here are all my keywords that are muted on Twitter, and I'm gonna have to mute more now that we're coming up on midterm elections. But I've muted everything about C19 is totally muted. All the main political figures like Buttigieg, DeSantis, and I may not agree or disagree with these people's opinions, but I just can't have it in my feed. I just can't do it. It's too much fighting, and it's a big time suck and a time drain. And so here's what I would warn everybody. Next week is midterm elections. Don't be baited into political arguments with anybody on social media. You can make way better use of your time. And there's gonna be troll bots, there's gonna be troll farms out there. It's just gonna be nuts next week. So I would stay strong and totally ignore all political news and political arguments. And I think you're gonna have a 10x week as it relates to productivity. Your productivity is just going to shoot through the roof, because there's going to be people that are going to be arguing about the midterm elections all week next week. Yeah, CM, I do like that too. The spaces are amazing. I love Twitter spaces. I know, Pups' political arguments on social media can last forever. There is no reasoning with some people. Best to not even try. Yeah, I don't even think it's that. It's just I honestly believe there's nefarious actors that try to get people riled up. And that's one of the reasons why I closed my Facebook account. And that's why I like Twitter, because it's only 140 characters, right? On my Facebook account, I closed it a couple years ago. I think right around the elections when Trump won the election, because people are writing like 8 to 9 page diatribes of, oh my gosh, the Democrats are destroying the country. Oh my gosh, the Republicans are evil and they're going to throw over democracy, and COVID is a hoax and all this. I'm like, this is just pure garbage. I'm like, why am I even consuming this? So I closed my Facebook account. Now on Twitter, it's a little less worse. It's still bad, but you don't have these crazies that'll sit down and literally write a whole paragraph or 3-4 pages just venomously arguing with each other. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing Facebook or Meta in decline, because people sort of realize that time is best not spent that way. Anyway, not to sort of go off on a tangent, but I think it's relevant to the topics we talk about, finance, investing, career, being a more productive person. Because the biggest time drain and the biggest time suck, in my opinion, is arguing with people that you don't know on the internet about politics. That is the worst time spent. Hey, Two Wheel Pines, what's up? Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, Dr. Longus, it's hilarious. Yeah, it's funny how the one side says the same thing about the other sides. That's so true. Hey, Gene says, Tom, check out Miami Beach Senior High after your convention center event. It's beautiful. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Now, I'm super excited for this event. Super, super excited. I'm more excited because I'm going to sit front row. And I'm going to, if I can't do a live stream, what I'll do is I'll either type up sort of my thoughts on the YouTube community page of what Ken Griffin, CEO of Citadel Securities, said. Also, some of the main takeaways as it relates to the infrastructure of Miami from the mayor, Francis Suarez. And I will keep you guys updated on that for sure. That's going to be Monday. I think it ends at 7, maybe 7:30. But I definitely want to attend the networking event after. Hey, Andy is here from South Korea. Good to see you, Andy. Welcome to all of our Korean viewers. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Truist Financial right here. Howard Smith says, thank you for keeping politics off your platform. Yeah, very seldom we talk about politics. Anytime we do have to talk about a political event, it's mainly has to do with the financial markets. So we usually don't give a bias one way or the other. But we just say, how is this particular political event impacting the financial markets? We don't say if it's good or bad or indifferent. So here is the tallest residential tower in Miami. Pup says, Tom, can you put your dog on the live stream? Maybe I will. Maybe I will. My dog is back in Massapequa. All right, I'm gonna go behind this car. Hey, Al says, hey, Tom, what's with the big construction in Sunny Isles Beach? They just can't stop building there. Yeah, I mean, Sunny Isles Beach is a sort of crazy one, right? Now, I think the biggest new building that they're building in Sunny Isles is the Bentley building. Now, I'm noticing a theme here in Miami. So in downtown Miami, we have the Aston Martin building. Then in Sunny Isles Beach, we have the Porsche Design Tower. So if you buy a unit in the Porsche Design Tower, it comes with a Porsche. And I think the same thing with the Bentley building too. Now, I think they just broke ground on that. I don't think it's built yet, but Western Mass Dave, good to see you. Hope you're well. All right, so now we're back to Southeast 8th Street. We'll wait for the light and we'll cross. We'll go back to Brickell. Yeah, Kelly Knowles is building on sinkholes. So the interesting thing is, it's a huge problem, to Kelly's point. A lot of sinkholes and structural problems. Now, I think there was another apartment building in North Miami Beach that unfortunately had to be evacuated because they didn't want a similar situation to happen that happened in Surfside. The horrible tragedy there. But if you look at Florida as a state, I believe the most sinkholes are actually on the West Coast. So you could think about Tampa, Florida, maybe like Fort Myers. But to Kelly's point, I mean, here's the issue in Miami. You're essentially building on limestone. It's like very porous limestone. So one of the things you'll see here in Brickell sometimes is the, I guess called the king tide flooding. So you'll actually have some water coming up out of the vents sometimes, the grates. Gene says, Tom, how's your weekend been? My weekend's been pretty good. Spent the majority of the weekend relaxing, just reading, catching up on some odd work here and there. Hey, Mike C, what's up? Just coming back from, I know, Dow Jones.eth, I did the same thing. Just coming back from Brickell Key. Yeah, Alex's HOA fees are tripling near the beach for 2023. You know, that's another reason why I decided not to buy a condominium or a condo or an apartment. I don't want to have anything to do with HOA. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not for me. You know, if I'm going to buy a piece of property, I want to have full autonomous control over that property. I don't have to deal with these people. Okay? I don't want to have to deal with HOA and all these. I just can't deal with it. If I'm going to spend, you know, $500,000 or, you know, $300,000 on a piece of property, I want to be able to be sure as hell that I could do whatever the heck I want with that property, right? I could rent it when I want. I could do whatever I want. That's just me, but I guess it just depends on your use case, right? If you're planning on using it as an investment, right, to generate cash flow, you could rent it out, then I would really highly suggest, you know, maybe going multifamily, buying duplex, triplex. Because if you're looking to do even, let's say, shorter term rentals, rent it out for a month or two at a time, especially here in downtown Miami and Brickell, there's very strict renter laws about short-term rentals, and some of it is banned outright. I think even in New York City, some specific parts of Manhattan, you're not even allowed to do Airbnb anymore. So definitely be cognizant of that. Speaking of Airbnb, they actually reported a pretty good quarter, a pretty decent quarter. I was very pleased with their financial reporting. Now, the interesting thing is, the CEO comes on the call and he says, here at Airbnb, there is a specific circumstance where if we do go into recession, they think that'll actually be a tailwind for Airbnb. And the reason why they think that is because if we go into recession and unfortunately people start to lose their jobs, right? People still need to pay their rent. People still need to pay their mortgage, or they could default and get foreclosed on. So they'll turn to Airbnb-ing out maybe a spare bedroom, maybe the entire house, and then go rent somewhere else. So maybe a little bit of a stretch there, but I think it makes sense, right? If you go into a downturn, you unfortunately, God forbid, right, you lose your job and you have a $2,000 a month mortgage. Well, maybe those 2 spare bedrooms, instead of having one of them be an office space, you could Airbnb for extra income. I think it makes sense. Interesting thesis, but all right, we got to go over 2 more blocks here. Jesus Christ. What the heck? Dude, you got to watch out, man. Why would you do that? So interesting thesis, but makes sense. That's another downside about Miami. Maybe worse drivers than, say, New York City. Maybe. Hey, Bezita Lopez, good to see you. That's the one thing I did notice. Not to sort of dump on New York, but New York has horrible drivers. I think even people from New York could say that. But I haven't seen anything like the Miami drivers. Those are pretty crazy drivers. I'll give you guys one more shot of the SLX Lux building. Yeah, Greg's is arrogant and aggressive. Well, I think it's maybe just a lot of people are. It seems a lot of people are in a rush, right? So the issue with that is, in Miami, there's not a lot of public transportation. So you have a ton of people driving. Almost everybody has a car. And these people speed up to the red lights. It's like they're in a rush to get to the next red light. Outer Haven says New Jersey drivers are worse. Really? I've never really driven in New Jersey. I wouldn't think that. I would think New Jersey drivers would be better because it's more spaced out, more space. Because New Jersey has some beautiful suburban, I would say suburbia. Dow Jones's mass holes. So in Massachusetts near Boston, bad drivers. Got it. Kelly Knowles to Chicago is going crazy January 1st. What's going on January 1st in Chicago? Sunshine Alice says, yes, we are. Jersey drivers are reckless. Well, here's the bullish news, right? I think in 10 years, I honestly don't even think you'll need to drive, because you'll have companies like Tesla where you'll just get in your Tesla and it'll drive you everywhere you need to go. You know, my friend lives in San Francisco. He has a Tesla. And he says even though it's not full autonomy, so technically right now, Tesla is not at full autonomy, but where he is in San Francisco, he never has to touch the steering wheel. He goes from his apartment to his office to the grocery store, and he never, ever, ever touches the steering wheel. It'll just drive you. It'll drive it yourself. GX72 says, Tom, when are you going to Key West? I don't know. I mean, I really want to get out there. The problem is it's so far away, right? If you want to go to Key West, you probably have to rent a car and drive there. And I'm just back and forth between New York and Miami too often that, I don't know, I would need to really carve out some time to do that. So this is the Miami Tower, the City National Bank building. And supposedly the Aston Martin building is gonna be lit up exactly like that. But we'll cross the street here and then go back to the office because I gotta pick up some stuff in there. And then we'll call it a night. Man, I can't believe we've already been streaming for 2 hours. Yeah, that's true. Deep value, Alex. You know, when I went to Austin, Texas, deep value, Alex, it was very similar. So Austin, Texas is not really a walkable city. Now, I think they're trying to make it a little bit better for pedestrians to get around with like those electric scooters, but everything is so far away. And Miami is kind of similar, especially if you live, I don't know, let's say in Pinecrest or something. If you live there, you need a car, right? There's no public transportation, but that's why I love New York so much too. You don't need a car. Walk around, take the subway. I think generally if you live in downtown Miami or Brickell, you could probably get away with not having a car. I don't have a car myself, but yeah, Dan Russell says those scooters are everywhere in Austin. Yeah, I was in Austin not too long ago. I think it's been about, what, 6 months ago now since I've been in Austin? And you're right, scooters everywhere. Now, here's something strange. Here's something strange. The scooters used to be all over Miami. Hey, good to see you. And now there's no scooters. There used to be tons of scooters everywhere you looked. And now there's not one. Kind of strange. All right, so here we are. This is 2 Brickell City Center. You have your WeWork office, you have McKinsey, and also KPMG. So we're gonna make a left here and then another right, or a right here and then another right, to go back up to the office. Hey, Mike is here. Good to see you. Thanks, Mike. So everybody, tomorrow will be our stock market a look ahead live stream. It's going to be an extremely, extremely busy week on Wall Street. We have tons of corporate earnings, but most notably on Tuesday is the midterm election. So it's going to be extremely, extremely volatile. But as we talked about, and we're going to go into this more tomorrow, I'm going to have more statistics for you guys. About 99% of the time, 12 months after the midterm elections, the market tends to be positive, especially if we have Republicans controlling both the House and the Senate, and a Democrat as a president, which we have right now. So I don't know, we could be looking forward to some gains here in the market. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow. And we'll also go into some residential real estate. I'll give you guys a quick look at the koi pond over here. The Bandit says, I want to hear the Twitter earnings since Elon Musk took over. Well, I mean, it's a private company, right? So the reason why we were able to hear Twitter's earnings before is because it was a publicly traded company. So he's taking Twitter private, so that wouldn't be, we wouldn't have any insight to that. Now, there's been some pretty big private equity deals. We talked about one of which, Thoma Bravo, or Orlando Bravo's private equity firm, taking Ping Identity, which is actually a Denver-based software company, cybersecurity company, private. You know what, let's go to the third floor. I don't think I've ever been to the third floor before, ever. But if you guys enjoyed the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Once again, we do these streams about 5 days a week between New York City and Miami. And we'd love for you guys to join us. This is looking northbound in Miami. Yeah, Rich Charles, this is going to be an interesting week. Now, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled on that 10-year U.S. Treasury yield. I think the biggest thing is to watch the bond market, also the Dixie. Now, interesting action in the dollar. The dollar, I think, fell a whole percentage point. And in the currency markets, that's ridiculous. So the Dixie is an indice, pretty much, that tracks the relative strength of the dollar, comparing it to a basket of other foreign currencies. And the dollar has been very, very strong. And that has relatively been stock market negative, impacting a lot of companies' corporate earnings. You know, we talked about Apple. Apple had a great quarter. However, Tim Cook came on the earnings call and said, even though we had 8% revenue growth in this most recent quarter, we would have had a double-digit revenue growth quarter if it wasn't for foreign exchange currency fluctuations. And the reason for that is because when you're selling a product or service overseas in a foreign currency, and then you go to convert that currency back to US dollars, well, if the dollar is really strong, you're going to have a lot less purchasing power to purchase back those dollars. So that's been taking a really big hit on corporate earnings, I think to the tune of 600 basis points as it relates to Apple. Hey, Lemonade is here. What's up? Good to see you. All right, one more view. I'll give you guys one more shot of Mary Brickell Village, and then I'll head up to the office and we will call it quits for the night. Julia M says, hey Tom, thoughts on ARK investing Cathie Wood? Yeah, I do have some thoughts. So I think about maybe a year ago now, I can't believe it's been that long, I wrote a piece on Cathie Wood in the Behind the Street newsletter. If you guys want to sign up for it for free, if you scan the QR code right there, you'll see it. Now, her strategy is investing in all innovative growth, very, very high revenue growth, high beta tech companies, right? I would say disruptive growth. Now, that strategy works really, really well in suppressed rate environments and extreme quantitative easing. Now, the strategy doesn't work well at all in an environment of normalizing rates and quantitative tightening, or QT. Because you have to understand the way interest rates impact valuations. And what I mean by that is a lot of these tech companies are very high beta growth stocks. They have much of their earnings in the future, right? So they're projected to be profitable maybe a year or two in the future, and they have no earnings or present value earnings. So when interest rates are low, the present value of those future earnings are worth a lot more, but as interest rates go up, the future value of those earnings go down quite substantially. And that's why we've been seeing this huge rotation into companies that have very, very robust and sustainable profits right now. They may not be compounding out, their revenue growth at 80, 90% like some of these SaaS stocks, but they have earnings right now, and earnings matter in an environment of high rates. So when interest rates go up, the first stocks to get crushed are these money-losing SaaS companies, and that's exactly what happened. I'll take you guys back up to the office. We'll go 8. Dude?
Level 8.
Okay. But Julia, I would say this about Kathy Wood. I think she's extremely, extremely smart. I mean, she's not a stupid person. She is an incredible, I would say, pioneer on Wall Street, but you can't continue your strategy knowing that rates are going to go sky high and invest in these money-losing companies. But team, that is all the time we have for tonight. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out to the live stream tonight. I'm going to get some water and then head home. Join us tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time and enjoy the rest of your weekend. So Cynthia Martinez, thank you so much. Julie M, GX72, Line Sync, Mr. Brooks, Lemonade, all of our moderators, Joan K, Sabrina Fair, and to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere, and you just need to know where to look. Western Mass Dave, we'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:30. We're gonna have a lot to cover on our markets, a look ahead stream. So until then, take it easy, everybody. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, and we'll see you next time.